Have you ever wondered why Volturi's in Twilight or Stefan in Vampire Diaries are so freaking rich? How is it that in almost all movies and series, all vampires are so wealthy? What have they done in their immortal life that we mortals can learn for our financial journeys? So, in today's video, let's figure out why are vampires always so rich in movies. And if you like such entertaining educational videos, then go hit the subscribe button and like this video. Anybody living such a long life will have to be absolutely dumb to not end up rich. Now, let's analyze this from all the three sides of money. We'll look at the investments, we'll look at the income, and we'll look at the expenses. This is going to be an interesting video, so stick around till the end. Let's start with the expenses. Now, as far as I know, vampires don't need to eat, at least not the regular food. So that's a lot of savings on food. But they can't just go around draining people, so they must be taking blood from animals or sourcing blood from some other sources. Could be hospitals or blood donation drive, I don't know. So a little part of their expenses goes towards food. They usually live in distant abandoned places, so no landlords, no bills, no taxes, nothing. They work better in the dark, so a lot of savings on electricity as well. Vampires also don't have any use for alcohol, tobacco, drugs, and Starbucks latte. So a lot of savings there then. Vampires don't get sick and don't need medical procedures. So no medical bills. And look at their teeth, they don't need dental either. And they don't have children either. So that means a lot of savings when you don't have to sustain another human being for 18 plus years. In short, vampires don't have a lot of expenses except for the ones that they need to maintain their lifestyle in the eyes of the general public. Okay, moving on. What about their income? Not being able to work during the day poses some problems. But you see, with today's technological advances, you can work from anywhere, anytime. Now, if you're living for 200 years, that gives you a lot of opportunities to get rich. They can just work a long series of regular jobs, like the vampires in Twilight, and keep moving cities when people start noticing their lack of aging. Now, a regular job for 700 years is enough to make anyone rich. An ancient being like a vampire would have both advantages and disadvantages in the labor market. I think for a 100-year-old being, it may be slightly difficult to master new age technologies. Imagine being a 100-year-old and trying to understand Bitcoin mining. At the same time, vampires could develop excellent abilities in timeless creative fields like writing, painting, and other forms of art. They would be rare living link to the past, and they could make a fortune by collaborating with all kinds of researchers. Another easy source of wealth for the vampires could be the value of antiques that they own. After all, if you live long enough, all your possessions become antiques. A vampire could simply go out today and buy a Marvel superhero toy, keep it in mint condition, and sell it 200 years later for a small fortune. Now imagine they can do the exact same thing for things that are actually valuable, like a valuable jewelry, or a high quality designer watch, or an original Van Gogh, which was thought to be lost and disappeared for hundreds of years. To be honest, anyone in a vampire's position who has been alive for as little as 200 years, let alone a really long time, would have done something really wrong to not end up wealthy just by time alone without even trying. And finally, investing. Now, even though vampires have several ways to earn their income, they also have the benefit of power of compounding. Small investment over hundreds of years could lead to surprising results. Let's see an example. I'll open an Excel for you. We are looking at the value of a one-time investment over 300 years. Okay, so in column A, we have the number of years. In column B, we start with 10,000 rupees. Let's say we get 3% interest per year. That means we'll get 300 rupees, and at the end of the year, the value will be 10,300. This 10,300 will be used for next year. We are not doing any additional investment, you see, which will make us 10,609 rupees at the end of second year. At the end of third year, we will have 10,927 rupees, and by the end of year 300, we will have 7 crore rupees. You see, a small one-time investment. What happens if we increase the return to 4%? We'll end up with 128 crore rupees with 4% return. This magic of compounding also works for non-vampires like you and me. But we usually don't stay invested for this long, and we have many excuses to not stay invested for this long. Compound interest favors those who start early, so it makes sense to start now if you have not started already. Let's see a real life example. If Celine had purchased one share of Coca-Cola in its IPO in 1919 for $40, the value of this portfolio would be well over $21 million right now. And this portfolio would be generating over $500,000 in dividend income annually. And all this comes from one-time investment of $40 that compounded for a century. But you see, holding on to stocks for several decades is not easy. You would have gone through at least 7 major financial crises. The world has witnessed the Great Depression in 1929, the Suez Canal crisis in 1956, the international debt crisis in 1982, the East Asian economic crisis in 1997 to 2001, the Russian economic crisis in 1992 to 97, the Latin American debt crisis in Mexico, Brazil, and Argentina in 94 to 2002, and the global economic recession in 2007 to 2009. Now, a vampire who has lived through even 2 or 3 of these crises would know how to design a viable and successful investment strategy. They would be less likely to fall for Ponzi schemes and quick to identify asset bubbles. Over the course of several centuries, they would have adjusted to shifting markets and depressions and recessions and banking failures. But let's get practical. If there is one demat account for a person for 150 years, somebody will get suspicious. I'm assuming the Indian banks have kept proper record for this person since the inception. Vampires would need to conceal their multi-generational portfolios by shifting their wealth to their new identities and changing cities. But the simplest way to avoid any kind of scrutiny would be to create a shell corporation that would handle all their investments and maybe occasionally feast on the CEOs of competing companies to manipulate the stock prices. Simply put, vampires don't just happen to be wealthy. They have time, means, and the magic of compounding to help preserve their wealth for multiple generations. We mortals also have access to the same 3 things, but we don't treat them with respect or discipline or understand how to use them wisely. Did you have fun watching this video? Go hit the like button. You can also check out our playlist of fun but informational videos. Also, let me know in the comments if you have some other points to add to this video. Click subscribe and press the bell icon. Wrapping it up, this Paritosh signing off.